The Padres made some kind of deal with the devil, so does it even make sense for the Twins to finish their series in San Diego? Let's discuss it right after we get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are looking live at Brandon Warren and Dave Brown. Hello again, everybody, by the way, and welcome to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to destination for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, analysis, just staring off 1,000 yards into space, whatever. A reminder, too, that the Locked On Twins podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which brings you your team every day. And that team, I believe, is the Minnesota Twins. Like I said, I'm your co-host, Dave Brown. I've been in the BBWAA since 2012, a professional ball writer since 1998, the summer of Sammy Sosa and Mr. Mark McGwire. And across cyberspace from me is a man named Brandon Warren, who has things to tell you not only about himself, but perhaps a special friend of the show.
Yeah, so I've been watching the Twins for 30 years, covered them for half that long, and my claim to fame is I attended every single home game in the 2013 season. And you might remember that Vance Worley started opening day that year, and it was against Justin Verlander, and that was just a taste of what was to come. Another taste of what's to come is that today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code LockedOnMLB. That's all lowercase. That's all one word. And you'll get a first deposit match up to $100. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Twins hometown broadcast with Chris Atterbury and Paul Molitor on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Twins up next for the Twins. It's going to be Simeon Woods Richardson facing Padres lefty Martin Perez. Sorry, we got it wrong. It's Matt Waldron. And the first pitch is scheduled for 5:40, easy for me to say, p.m. Central at Petco Park. So the Twins wrap up their series at San Diego and will take Thursday off before facing the Cardinals and the Braves at home. And I seem to have lost Dave visually.
Can you hear me, though?
I can hear you. I just can't see it. You've never looked better, though.
You know, that's pretty funny.
Sorry.
I don't know why I've just...
Oh, and now he's disappeared altogether. So the Twins are going to be hosting the Cardinals. It's going to be David Festa against Lance Lynn, Pablo Lopez against Sonny Gray, which I am specifically interested in watching, and then Zebby Matthews against Eric Fetty. Then the Braves, who are for whatever reason perpetually injured, coming to town. It's going to be Bailey Ober against Max Fried and Simeon Woods Richardson against Spencer Schwellenbach. I am quite certain that Simeon Woods Richardson against Spencer Schwellenbach, Mr. Dave Brown, is probably the most letters in a combined head-to-head pitching duo in Major League history. And I don't think I even need to do research on that.
I have to ask, can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
And you can see me. So we haven't really improved the situation. Yeah, so it's going to be we got 2 more games to go in this series, which so far, 1 more game to go in this series. The series finale today, I think 5:20 God's time zone. All right, so the results, let's just ignore my technical difficulties. The results from Tuesday night were not good.
No.
It was looking for a bit like the Twins were actually going to gain a game on the Cleveland Guardians. And that did not end up happening. All the Twins needed out of the Guardians was for Trent Grisham of the Yankees to hit a fly ball more than 90 feet.
Yeah.
And that would have scored the winning run in one of the extra innings. I don't even remember which one. It was pretty funny watching the Guardians kind of go through there. Oh, help us. But they
had 3 chances to walk it off and could not do it.
They didn't. I mean, the Yankees, and the Yankees are having a good year too. So that didn't happen. And then the Twins squandered a 3-1 lead and then a 5-3 lead, 2 leads, 1 game, no waiting. For the second time in 3 games, they lost 3 in a row, but for the second time in 3 games, the bullpen kind of let everybody down. And it could have been, a 1.5 game spread in the AL Central, but instead it's 3.5, 4 games in the loss column, still tied with the Royals, who did happen to lose. The Twins are, but it looks like one more misstep and the Twins are in 3rd place. That's the wrong way. 1st place is where we wanted them to be going. We didn't want them to go to 3rd place. So I got a question. When Steven Okert came into the game and it was 5-3, what was your first thought, Brandon?
Why? Just why? Yeah, I mean, I understand over the course of the year, you got to show some trust in some guys that you maybe haven't to this point. And I understand, where in the order they were might have made sense. But at the same time, why is the word that comes to mind over and over and over and over again.
Over and over and Okert and Okert. So, is the Okert cursed? I don't know. He came in yesterday. He had a good rating against the left-handed batters. So, of course, what happens? Mike Shield happened, and he pinch hit Donovan Solano, a double agent. Twins fans thought he was on their side.
Donnie Solano, they called him last year.
He got ahead 2 strikes too. Okert did on Solano, and then it was very Alcala-like. Threw a pitch, very hittable. Got a single, started rallying. The next guy up, I don't know if it was the next pitch or it was pretty soon after that. Machado, who's not been, Machado's been good, but he hasn't been great. Hits just a monstrous home run to center field to tie the score.
No, that was the Ober one. Then Profar hit the home run.
That was, yeah. Oh,
Machado homered off Ober to erase the 3-1 lead, and then Profar erased.
I did watch the game, and I am prepared, but apparently still discombobulated from my electronic
camera snafu.
Yeah.
No, but so here's my question. With Bailey Ober throwing 83 pitches and the idea that your bullpen is going to be taxed in some form or fashion. I don't mean without representation taxation, but yes, that you have rookies in 3 of the next 4 starts. And that situation's not getting any easier anytime soon. So you're going to need to lean on your bullpen, even though Ober relinquished the lead at 3-3. And you go to Griffin Jacks. I know Griffin Jacks is your guy out there. And I don't mean you specifically. It's you, understood. Do you maybe let Ober keep going? I don't know, because if in your mind's eye you're ever going to use Steven Okert with a lead, I would probably just stick with Ober for the rest of that inning and then go Jackson, Duran, or if you lose the lead, Jackson, maybe then Okert or Enriquez, as it were. I don't know. I'm very, very unlikely to rip a manager because I know bullpen management is a lot more than meets the eye. But I wonder, again, I know they didn't pull Ober after a clean inning. They pulled him in the midst of an inning. It was 6 innings plus, as they say in the business. But I don't know. I think I would have ridden it out longer with him. And I endorsed when they pulled him in with 83 pitches 2 years ago. I can't do it now.
Yeah, there's some information that I don't have as far as making an appropriate response. Like, was Ober tired, or was that just a moment when they, I didn't get it. I wasn't in San Diego. I didn't get a chance to ask that or hear if the
Google
guys and Ghost did. No, so that's a possibility.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to me though. I was watching it on replay though, and I thought, wow. After Machado hits the home run against Ober, he's going to take him out here. And, there are other situations where Rocco would let even Ober keep going, even after allowing some base runners. I think it's possible he was a little premature there. I say it's possible because I don't know for sure.
If you have Pablo Lopez say, listen, Mac, go back to the dugout. I want this guy. You probably listen, right?
Yeah.
He's not Jack Morris 1991 Game 7, but I think Ober's earned that equity to where unless Ober was like, listen, I have I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling whatever.
Yeah.
And again, when people say you got to rip the bullpen, you got to rip this, I always think if you rip somebody, you have to be sure. You have to be certain that what you're saying is factual, or at least to the best of your knowledge, truthful. And then, so ripping them, I wouldn't say I'm ripping, but I'm definitely questioning, like, I would have left Ober out there. Again, I know third time penalty and all that. And you got Xander Bogaerts, who's in a down season, but is hitting like 350 for his career against the Twins. You got Merrill after that. There's not a lot of let up in this batting order. And, 8-9 is probably not that great, but otherwise it's a strong batting order. I don't know. So I'm definitely second guessing, and I understand that, but I got to give Ober that runway to finish, or at least try to finish that inning.
Okert, by the way, has allowed 15 runs. Aaron Gleeman compiled this, and 28 base runners in his past 12 and a third innings. So he's not going well. So I don't know what situations that you can use him for. It's not like the old days where you could kind of rely on him facing a lefty or two lefties. You got to leave him in for three guys. And then they brought in Solano right off the bat to flip the tables, and that wasn't good.
Well, unless you have the last, like if you have an inning where a righty leads off, then you have two lefties after that. In theory, you can kind of shorten up your Okert usage in that you hope he gets those two outs. But then you have the pinch hitters. Then you have whoever's after that if he doesn't get everybody out, which has been the case more often than not recently. So, yeah, my question here, he's out of options. Are you at a point where you DFA him and go, bring up Louis Varland? Or I don't know if Varland made that start as the 27th man, so he could probably still be eligible, right? You're kind of reaching decision time because you have three guys who you don't trust in leverage with Richards, Okert, and Enriquez. Thielbar is teetering on that precipice. I think he's probably getting closer to that after rather than a before. But they didn't use Cole Sands, who hadn't pitched since Saturday. Like, I don't know. Alcala got...
And nobody was clamoring for Alcala after the previous game, but right. I feel like maybe that would have been a good time to try him again. Here's another idea, and we want to go to a break. Here's something that Rocco hasn't done all year that he said he was going to do. How about 2 innings for Jax? Moving ahead to the Jax. Why not?
Yeah.
You don't want to. He's hardly ever used him 2 days in a row. I don't even know if he has. He hasn't lately. You're going to give him a day off probably anyway. Duran is much more rested for this game than Jax would be.
To look forward, Thursday's a day off, so that's part of the calculus too.
Why not do your 2-inning thing, Rocco? Which you do with Enriquez, and sometimes Sands gets into that second inning, and Thielbar, they'll let him loose for however many innings it takes. Jax for 2 innings. How about that? All right, everybody stew on that, and we're gonna have a break here and come back.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll discuss that. Our friends at eBay Motors need to make sure that passion, drive, and patience are not only the formula for winning championships, but also what keep your ride alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, whether you're looking for a supercharger, roof rack, exhaust kit, LED headlights, or anything else, whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply, but eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
You mentioned not having a lot of wiggle room with the Padres lineup out there, but it's true that they're doing well, and they're getting some. Jurickson and Profar's finally putting it all together here 12 years later, or however long. But I think they're 22-6 in the second half. 21, yes. 22-6.
22 after yesterday.
They don't have Yu Darvish. No, but he's got a personal thing going on. He's not with the team. Fernando Tatis has been out since June because of a broken leg, though he might actually return. They got some recent news on him.
Good.
Joe Musgrove is back, but he's missed Darvish has missed about 15 starts. Musgrove's back. He's missed about 14. Ha-Seong Kim has been out. Xander Bogaerts has kind of gone into the fetal position and is not what he used to be. Machado is good. He's solid. He's above average. He hit that home run. He does that against the Twins, but he hasn't been.
He's starting to show age.
Machado. Yeah. Luis Ariz has actually not had that great of a year. I mean, he's about league average, a little above as a hitter, but he's not doing outstanding things. They have a lot of issues, and they've managed to go on a heater here in the second half, and they're scaring the pants off the Dodgers.
It's not entirely unlike when the Twins won 12 in a row when things weren't perfect either, which is, I mean, it works in your favor and it works against you.
I'm kind of ready, though, for the Twins to win 12 in a row again, despite things not working in their favor, because they haven't had Buxton.
Yep.
Reports are maybe he'll be back Friday, but that was not definitive at all.
Right.
Carlos Correa, it's very, very not definitive with Carlos Correa. I think it's a matter of they're worried about, well, if he comes back, is this going to turn into, are they going to make it into something that is chronic and won't go away? His plantar, his pain in his feet. Yes. But I'm looking here at, again, a guy, AJ Preller, who I think was almost fired about 3 different times in his career, made a bunch of great moves and some other moves that I don't think anybody saw coming.
Right.
And here the Padres are definite. With Dylan Cease pitching like this, and some of their other pieces, they could win the World Series. I don't think there's any question about it. There's not even the Dodgers don't even, they can't. The Dodgers won't be able to put them away. It just sort of goes to show you that teams are sometimes greater than the sum of their parts. And even though they have great parts, a lot of those parts are missing. And the Twins, let's be fair to them, have made it work without some of their parts missing. But I'm just looking ahead here. They get Buxton back. Hopefully, Correa will be able to run soon without pain. That is pretty huge down the stretch. If they can just stay close, I still say that the Guardians are going to run out of some luck, or they're going to have some injuries, and they're both not injuries, but I don't want to say that. But guys are going to get worn down in the bullpen. They won't be as effective. It's going to turn, isn't it, Brandon?
I think so. And I think your point about Preller. And this is not meant to be political, but when Trump was shot at in Pennsylvania and the security person
didn't see that coming in a couple different ways.
I'm not going to resign. I'm not going to resign. I'm not going to resign. When someone starts talking about your employment, almost never are you long for that role. Manager gets a vote of confidence. A GM gets a vote of confidence. Preller is like the one guy, the cockroach that they have not been able to squash in San Diego. And I think that's the only reference where I'm like, you know what? That's the one time I've seen somebody who I was convinced on multiple occasions was on the outs. And maybe he kind of GMs like his hair is on fire. And I think maybe because he knows he could be fired at any moment, that he's just like, listen, I'm going scorched earth. You know what? If they fire me, this isn't my problem anymore. What is it? Not my monkeys, not my circus any longer. And so it's going to come down to, he's staking his claim on a bunch of relievers, which heck yeah, if you are okay with trading your prospect depth. I'm amazed that he traded all of his prospects for all the different guys he did and still has Jackson Merrill to show for it. But they're a tough team right now, and they're not constructed in a peak efficiency manner. I mean, very few teams are at this time of the year, but for the Padres to be doing what they're doing, to throw a scare into the Dodgers as kind of a tandem with the Diamondbacks, we know what the Diamondbacks are capable after the run that they went on last year. I don't know. It's definitely a scary time to be in the NL West if you're the Dodgers. By the way, when you said wriggle room, it reminded me of Jim Riggleman. I was listening to a book that former MLB umpire Derwood Merrill wrote, and he was talking about cutting up with Jim Riggleman when Randy Johnson was a young pitcher and couldn't throw strikes. So I had Jim Riggleman on my mind for the entire time you were talking, and luckily I wrote down some notes about Preller so I could re-divert my attention.
Well, I wanted to say wriggle room, like WRIGG. That's a word, right? Wriggle out of a jam.
Yep. Which the Twins
I always
did
think of
not.
Jim Riggleman too. Jim Riggleman, who amid an 0-14 start to the 1997 season with the Cubs, he went to work every day on the L. He took the L from his Chicago apartment to Wrigley Field. Can you imagine Rocco getting on the light rail, talking about going from wherever he lives to Target Field, and people like looking at him and asking him about why'd you put the lefty in last night? And I can't imagine anybody taking that on their shoulders.
It'd be quite a train ride from San Diego to Minneapolis, if I'm honest.
That's true. But I said, Rocco,
No,
I don't mean, I meant a hypothetical. The next time he uses Okert and shouldn't, someone will bring it up.
Right now, it's about every time he uses Okert. And back to that Merrill book for a second, Derwood Merrill. He talked about riding the subway as an umpire to a ball game in New York City, like to the Bronx. And then
did they know who he was?
What's that?
Did they know who he was?
They were recognized. The umpires were recognized, and he made a very unpopular call on a diving play. I don't remember who was in left field that day for the Yankees, but Reggie Jackson was a big Derwood Merrill guy, and he was giving him his support. But they literally had to have the police take them back to the hotel. The cops come into the umpire room, and they're like, listen, you're not taking the subway back. And he's like, what are you talking about? We've had death threats on you. Like, that's how crazy it got in the late 70s with the Yankees, where this more or less rookie umpire had to be escorted away from the stadium. So yeah, any sort of player or baseball person of consequence riding the train, I think those days are probably well over.
And I love, though, that Derwood Merrill's like, I got my umpire. I got my balloon protector on. I'm safe. People can come at me all day, bro. I'll be all right. Get me on that subway.
Are you sure about that?
So, hey, let's take our second and final break, and I'll try not to make any more mistakes.
Deal. Speaking of mistakes, you can capitalize on your mistakes if you're using PrizePicks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because it's just you and the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch that cash roll in. And what I mean by capitalizing on mistakes is sometimes it's fun to lay down a bet that's counter to your rooting interests, and that way you can't lose, right? Either your team wins or your bet wins. Sometimes it's fun to root for both. Sometimes it's fun to root for neither, but your business is your business, and you can win 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks, which would be like turning $10 into $1,000, and it's basically in an instant. And if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win, which I'm more than capable of losing, and you get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So if you're thinking Tyreek Hill for more than 90.5 yards in week 1, or Aaron Jones of the Vikings in his debut getting more than 66.5 yards on the ground, you can cook up your hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. It's not just football, plenty of baseball options as well. Really, you just need to download the app and dive into it for yourself. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get a first deposit match up to $100. The code is LOCKEDONMLB. It's all one word. It's all lowercase on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks wants you to run your game.
A couple more things before we head out. We didn't talk much about a couple other aspects of the game last night that were irritating. I think the base running has been strange. I don't want to say universally bad because there was one play. There's a couple plays. Profar made a ridiculous throw to third to get, I think it was Jeffers on the
crazy year, by the way. Profar is having an insane season.
I mean, that play shouldn't happen, but was it bad to get thrown out of third on that anyway? I mean,
I know the adage is don't make the first or third out at third base. I hate making any out at third base because you're already in scoring position. And third base, obviously, certainly valuable, but the risk reward there, to me, very rarely, outweighs. The risk is very rarely better than the reward. Again, I know third base, wild pitch, sac fly, squeeze play. There's a lot of ways to score from third base. with fewer than 2 outs. But I just don't like it. I also it's like how I feel about the contact play. I don't like it. I don't, you say, oh, make a mistake. These are big leaguers. Those mistakes are so few and far between that I really, really would rather read and react than the contact play or trying to take third base when runs are at a premium. What do we have for a final score? Did they actually hit the over? Thanks to our friends at FanDuel, by the way. But when you're scratching and clawing for every run against a really good team, I do not like those gambles on the bases.
That big inning was weird too, because it seemed like it should have been 6 or 7 runs, and it was, having the runner thrown on the third,
yep,
cut things off, and they were very station to station before that. I feel like they're probably, with health reasons, not letting. It's been a couple times now that Royce Lewis is not even going to try to take an extra base because we're not going to try and blow out a hamstring or whatever. So I think they ran into a little, so to speak, bad luck, and some great plays, some good bounces for the Padres. They're having good things go for them in that direction.
Who the double agent was in the Yankees-Guardians game that blew it up?
Yeah, remind me.
Michael Tonkin got smoked.
Oh.
So Aaron Boone used every reliever in his bullpen. They had a short start by another double agent, Luis Gil. Thanks a lot, Falvey, for a great trade there with Jake Cave. And so Luis Gil had a short start, and then Michael Tonkin got knocked around late. But again, that offense had so many opportunities to walk off the Guardians. And for whatever reason, and I know I'm lamenting, it's probably sour grapes, but I feel like every team turns into a bunch of second graders when they play the Guardians. They start kicking the ball around. Willie Adames had an error on a routine grounder the other day, and granted, the Brewers swept that series, so they came back and won that, or came back around. I don't understand how Cleveland has this force field that it's like, you remember when they had the hippie shakes on Angels in the outfield, and all the guys are trying to field the ball and it kept moving around? I think that's what the Guardians have going for them this year, is some kind of voodoo.
There was one play early in the Guardians game, and I should have took notes on who was up, and they hit a ball to center field, and center fielder fell down. I think it was Brennan. I don't know. But he got up, and they somehow threw a guy out at home by 10 feet.
That was also, guess who? Trent Grisham. So Grisham, it was late.
Grisham finds a way to find himself in these situations.
It was the bottom of the 8th, and so it was the ball smacked off the fence, and the backing up right. I think it was probably John Kenzie Noel backing up, hit the cutoff man, and got home. And rounding third, Grisham kind of stutter stepped, he picked up the sign from the third base coach late, and that ended up being a very key split-second decision. I think Grisham has been one of the all-time busts as far as Yankee acquisitions. And again, not because a lot was expected of him, but this is a guy who, I feel like he hasn't recovered from that misplay in Milwaukee in that wild
the Nationals.
He's just been a mess since then. He's going to hit 180. He's got a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, but he just has stopped putting it all together, and it's unbelievable. And in this instance, it cost the Twins.
I thought that was a strange. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I had heard the Twins were interested in Grisham a few years back, and so he's also maybe a double agent.
Maybe it was a Grisham novel they were interested in.
Novel concept. Play good baseball.
Yeah, but Grisham is not. He'll draw a walk or whatever, but he's very unlucky or cursed or something. But
between him and Vertigo and I think even Glaber, especially DJ LeMahieu, there's a quartet of players that have Yankees fans pulling their hair out left and right, and it's not pretty.
Well, when we saw LeMahieu leave the Rockies, it was well, are the Yankees going to get anything out of him? Because is it all due to Coors Field? And people were kind of expecting that. They got many good years out of DJ LeMahieu. The last 2 years or so, 2.5 years, not so good. So at least they got something out of there with him. The Grisham acquisition was strange because it was at the same deal as Soto, or about the same time. I don't know if it was literally the same trade, but it's why are they adding all these left-handed hitting outfielders? Now they got 3 at one time, and
probably didn't Google their handedness.
Probably not. All right, so the Twins and the Padres still have one game left in this series. It's going to be played about the 5 o'clock hour in Minnesota on Wednesday. We'll see if they can salvage a game. But until next time, this is going to be Dave Brown. Oh yeah, you still have.
I'm sorry. I'm eager to see Matt Waldron throw the knuckleball. I will say this though. Thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. But if you got to have time for a second listen, Sully on Locked On MLB is the place to go. It's Paul Sullivan. He's hilarious, and he's here to provide daily national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs, which are coming up very soon. We're in the dog days right now. So again, get ready for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, which is on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast provider podcasts at. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day.
And with that, Brandon Warren and Dave Brown, we will see you
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Wales with John.